Hello everyone. I hope you all would be doing fine. Today our topic in this lecture series is about the comparative physiology of respiration. This is the topic in demand, so I thought we should be deliberating on this. Let's first consider the term respiration. It is a physico-chemical process, means both physical and chemical processes are involved. But the main thing here is that it is actually the intake of oxygen from environment first to the cells, and then its use in the oxidation of the nutrients to get energy. This is the basic definition. Now, with respect to its types, first is external and the second is internal. Actually, these are the types, but also the process is um through the types itself. It means first it comes the first step is external respiration, then there is internal respiration. So these are types as well, and also the process is like this. In case of external respiration, first the oxygen is traveling from environment to the blood streams or the fluid of the body. There are different types of respiratory mechanisms, as we will see. So this is a completely physical process depending on the partial pressure. Then there is this internal respiration, which involves the transfer of the same oxygen from the fluid or the blood to the cells, and there the oxidation means the use of this oxygen for the oxidation of the food, which is a chemical process. So it involves both physical and chemical processes. This transfer of oxygen from blood to cells in case of internal respiration is also a physical process. So internal respiration is having two steps and external respiration is having one step. This is about the respiration and how it operates. Now let's come to the main aspect of it, which is the comparative physiology of respiration. The various organisms are using different mechanisms for respiration, which we are going to deal with it. First is through the body surface. It happens in protozoa and till nemathelminths. The same thing operates. Here, the liquid medium is not needed. Just through the body surface, oxygen dissolves into the body or into the cell. It is simple. Then there is cutaneous respiration through the moist skin, or we can say that the body surface is same, but here it has to be a moist. There has to be a moist layer through which the oxygen first dissolves in that layer, and then from that layer itself it is dissolving into the skin or the body surface. It is seen in annelids, for example earthworm, arthropods, for example in mites. In amphibians it is seen, for example in frogs, and in some fishes also, as part of the accessory respiratory mechanisms, because in fishes the main aspect is gills. Then let's come to another type, which is tracheal. These trachea, these are actually the tube like structures, and these are the hollow tubes. These don't have any liquid in them, and they are further divided into tracheoles, and there is this tracheolar cell. This branching pattern is there, and at the terminal part there is this fluid. This is known as tracheolar fluid, through which the oxygen transport takes place. As I had talked about, that in some cases there can be fluid and in some cases there is blood. In maximum cases there is blood. What happens here is that the oxygen is taken into these tubes through these openings known as spiracles. And the important thing to remember here is that the first thoracic and the first abdominal spiracles are always open, and they are used for expiration, means the removal of the carbon dioxide. So here the first thoracic and the first abdominal, these are used for expiration, and these are always open. So what happens here is that the oxygen travels from these tubes to these tracheal terminal endings, and from there it dissolves in this tracheal fluid, and from this tracheal fluid it dissolves into the cells. One more important thing is that, which I forgot here in the definition of respiration itself, it is not only about the oxygen but the removal of carbon dioxide as well, means the transfer of environmental oxygen and the removal of the metabolic carbon dioxide. This is a to and fro process from the environment to cells and from cells to the environment, means the oxygen from environment to cells and carbon dioxide from cells to environment. This is more or less the definition of this respiration. We are more uh, here required to know about the concept itself. Now let's move ahead. This tracheal respiration is seen in insects mostly, then in centipedes also, millipedes and ticks. These are also the examples which can be asked. Then let's come to this branchial respiration, which means it occurs through the gills. What happens here? Gills are the structures which are having certain this tissue like structure here. This is known as lamella, and this lamella is having two types of arterioles here. We can see here, this is efferent and this is efferent. Arterioles, we can say in broader term, arteries can also be there, arteries and arterioles. So efferent and efferent ones. Now we will see the function. When the fish is in the water, it is mostly occurring in the fishes. The water is taken from the mouth to this cavity, and in this cavity the water baths these gills, and oxygen is dissolved in the water itself, and from the water what happens, the oxygen gets into these efferent branchial arteries, and the this oxygen is then taken to dorsal aorta and to the various parts of the body, and from the heart itself there comes these efferent branchial arteries, which are having deoxygenated blood, or we can say some carbon dioxide can be there, which is released through this gill structure. So the gill is the basic structure from which dissolved oxygen is taken into these efferent branchial arteries, and the carbon dioxide is released through these efferent branchial arteries. And we can see that it is found in all the fishes, but it is also found in annelida. Example is arenicola. In arthropoda it is seen in crustaceans. In mollusks it is seen in unio. In echinoderms it is also seen in some cases, and in amphibian larvae like tadpole larvae we can see that gills are the main respiratory organs. Now let's move to the last part, which is pulmonary, which means via the lungs. First is that there is the case of book lungs. As you can see, these are found in scorpions and spiders. These the name book lungs itself comes from the structure. As you can see, these are like the pages of a book. So it is important to know that book lungs are some structures which are found in scorpions and spiders. These can be asked in the MCQs. Then in mollusca, for example in pila, there is this pulmonary respiration. In amphibia, in the frog itself, there are lungs. And one important thing about the amphibians is that there are three types of respirations. First is this, as we saw earlier, through this skin, through the moist skin, cutaneous. It happens mostly when the frog is in hibernation. Then the second is lungs. Third is buccopharyngeal, means from the lining of the mouth cavity. So three types of respiratory mechanisms are seen in amphibia, and the functioning of lungs is quite different here from the mammals. As we can see, in mammals itself we are having lungs. Here diaphragm is absent, and also the intake of air is also controlled by the movement of this buccopharyngeal cavity. The muscles involved in the buccopharyngeal cavity are actually involved in taking in the air to the lungs, which is not the case with the lungs of the mammals. There we can find that in this thoracic region itself there are various muscles, and the diaphragm itself which is involved in the respiration. So this was an important case. Then we can see that in reptiles we can also find lungs. In birds we can find lungs with special modifications which are known as air sacs. As you can see, these air sacs are having various multiple functions. For example, in making the oxygen readily available for respiration during the flight. Also, the reduction of weight is also one of the main functions of these air sacs, because for flight the weight has to be reduced. Then there is the final case of mammals. In mammals we are seeing the highest complexity of the lungs. We can see that here there is trachea, then it divides into left and right, primary bronchus, then secondary bronchus, then bronchioles, and finally through various steps we can find that there are various alveoli, which are sac-like structures, and they are vascularized actually. And these vascularized structures are helping in the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide with the blood itself. Means in this external and internal respiration, the interface is this alveolar region. So this was all about the respiration and its comparative physiology. One important thing which must be added here is that in hemichordates and cephalochordates, pharyngeal wall is involved in respiration, and in echinoderms majorly tube feet is involved in respiration. And here amphibia is important because in amphibia we can find that cutaneous respiration is also there, and through lungs it is also there, and through this buccopharyngeal cavity respiration is also a mechanism. With this we completed our topic. If you find this video informative, do like, subscribe and share this video, and also join our Telegram channel for these free mind maps. Thank you.